To date, companies across the Ayala Group work with about 250,000 SMEs. A community of that scale presents opportunities yet to be explored. We can make it stronger if we work together. Here at Ayala Enterprise Circle, we aim to upskill each entrepreneur, connect with experts and industry leaders, and enable one another to turn our challenges into opportunities. What we achieve together can make a difference in the nation. We are with you every step of the way.
The Ayala Group is grateful to its SME network. We're looking for ways to continue working with you, strengthening your skills, and building your network to make you more capable and more engaged with everything that we're doing. The Ayala Enterprise Circle is our way of committing to that and encouraging more engagement and more commitment, I guess, on our part to this. We're committed to the SME network. We want to make it succeed, and we invite you to join the Ayala Enterprise Circle as part and parcel of that initiative.
The spirit of entrepreneurship soars here. Welcome to the Ayala Enterprise Circle.
Ako si Emelita Candia. Right now, ako yung OIC General Manager ng Casureco 2.
I am Rolando Pante, presently the Institutional Services Department Manager of Casureco 2.
Ako si June Fuliante ng Casureco 2. Ako ang Head ng Network Administration.
Casureco 2, ito yung acronym niya ng Camarines Sur 2 Electric Cooperative. And also, Casureco 2 has a 10 districts na ino-operate under the supervision of National Electrification Administration. 25 years na din ako sa Casureco 2 and talagang yung ups and downs during that period ng 25 years is napakarami na talaga.
Nung binagyo kami, yun yung nawalan kami ng mga telepono. Naging problema namin, wala kaming communication sa mga consumer. Hindi sila makatawag dito.
Nakarating pa sa media yung mga complaints na gano'n na, ba't gano'n yung multi-million na company walang communication system? Hindi kami maka-answer dun sa kanilang mga complaints.
So, doon pumasok yung Globe Telecom. Our ITs sees that Globe catered our needs when it comes to communications.
Yung IPPBX ng Globe na naka-program sa amin ngayon is meron siyang mga features gaya nung call log, call conference, call transfer. And also, meron pa kami nung caller ID. So right there sa telephone unit, nakikita mo na kung sino yung tumatawag. yung talagang result ng having this IPPBX is napadali yung communication line namin between Kasureco 2 and the consumers.
Communication is very vital aspect in our operations.
Tinitingnan namin with Globe na maging partner kami for the future na mga programs. Yun yung nagustuhan ko talaga sa part ng Globe. Not only doon sa naibigay nilang convenience with our consumers, with our operation, pero yung pa ring relationship na talagang may puso yung kanilang ginagawa for the customer.
All right. Globe morning, everyone. And welcome to today's session in partnership with Amazon Web Services. We're going to start our session in a few moments. I would like to greet the directors, managers, and team members of the cooperatives and utility companies in our webinar today. We have representatives here from all over the country. Mabuhay po kayo. Let me introduce myself. My name is Bradley Pineda. I'm the marketing manager for Globe My Business for the finance industry. Sino nga ba si Globe My Business? Globe My Business is the corporate arm of Globe Telecom that offers solutions relevant to the needs of Philippine micro, small, and medium-sized businesses. We are more than just a mobile and broadband line. We are your trusted partner for digital technology solutions. These are solutions that can help your business add additional revenue, grow and expand while saving on capital expenditure, increase efficiency with automation, and provide security to your data, your office, and your customers. And today's conversation is exactly about one of the digital solutions that can help future-proof your cooperative. This morning, we will talk about how to power your co-op with the cloud. We will discuss how you can get started on cloud solutions and take advantage of its many benefits. Again, my name is Bradley Pineda, Industry Marketing Manager for Globe My Business and your moderator for today's session. Before we begin, I would like to invite everyone again to fill up the short survey form that's posted on the chat box so you can increase your chances to win in our raffle draw this morning. 3 lucky winners will be winning 1,000 pesos Gcash. Just click on the link to answer the survey and enter our raffle draw later today. Winners must be present to qualify. So, what can we expect in this webinar? Our speaker today will be introducing how electric and water cooperatives can use the cloud to improve their services, save on costs and capital expenditure, while making the business model much, much more resilient. For instance, with the cloud, you can have durable backup and disaster recovery, along with other use cases like migrating your SCADA and so on and so forth. Now, this discussion comes at a perfect time when all businesses are challenged because of the pandemic. Now, just a reminder again to those who have joined us just now, please note that we've disabled your camera and your audio settings for the meantime. If you have any questions and queries, please click the Q&A option at the bottom of your screen, type in your question, and we will try to address it later. All right. So I hope you are ready to take down notes and start the process towards digitalization and cloud transformation. Without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker. Our first speaker today, or our speaker for today, is a subject matter expert who has been in the IT industry for 25 years. He's been promoting business development through digital transformation throughout his career. And one of the industries that he is very passionate about and he has extensive experience in is really the energy and utilities industry. And that's why he's here. That's why we've invited him here to help you guys with your digital and cloud transformation. He is the Senior Partner Development Manager for Amazon Web Services Philippines. Let us give a warm welcome to Mr. Marnie Tolosa.
Hi, Brad. Good morning, and good morning, everyone. Happy to be here. This is, I guess, my nth time joining Globe, our Globe team, for this industry session. Again, my name is Marnie Tolosa. I am the Senior Partner Development Manager of AWS Philippines, or Amazon Web Services. So, Brad, thank you. And to everyone, hope you enjoy the session today and hope it could provide you value, not just learnings in today's webinar. So, let me just turn off my video as well and share my screen. Brad, let me know if you're seeing my screen.
Yes, all good, Tito Marnie.
All right. Thank you. So thank you again for joining us in this session. In today's session, I'll share with you what's happening in the industry and where cloud and digital technologies have actually taken part in the transformation of power and utilities and energy, not only for big enterprises but more so for SMEs. And we don't really look at how much we don't really look much at what technologies you're using. Our focus is on helping you with your business outcomes and helping you with your business. So thank you, Brad. Pinabata mo ako. Actually, I've been in the industry for 34 years. 25 years actually with that is with IT. But the first 10 years of my career actually is with oil and gas and with energy and utilities. When I started work, I'm an engineer by profession. Actually, I'm an instrumentation and process control guy. Also, being part of the refinery and also in various plants, I also serve as a SCADA engineer. So my life when I started my career was actually focused on OT. Most likely for the audience today, you know what OT means, operational technology. I actually work with devices, equipments, PLCs, SCADAs, name it. I've actually worked on it. And my shift to IT was when I was working with Shell, and Shell decided to implement SAP. So I was the industry specialist in SAP, focused on oil and gas and power and utility. And henceforth, I've moved on to join other IT companies such as Oracle, Cisco, Microsoft, and now at AWS. But my passion is still on IoT and on supply chain, oil and gas, and power and utilities. So I hope I could share with you my learnings and experience in the last 35 years in both IT and OT.
Thank you, Marnie.
Likewise,
Before we start, can we use a presenter view
oh,
for the
okay.
PowerPoint? Thank you.
Yep. Can you see? Actually, I'm on a presentation view already. Let me turn off my dual screen. Para yan. Brad, let me know if
There
it's
we go.
ready.
Thank you, Marnie.
Yan. Thank you, Brad. Kasi I'm using a dual screen, so I'm not sure whether I'm seeing the presentation or not. So continuing. So a brief profile, likewise, of where I work. I work for Amazon Web Services, which is a subsidiary of Amazon, and we know most likely you know who Amazon is. It's not just the biggest retail e-commerce, but it has expanded to healthcare and even in energy. And similar to the industry that you're in, which is a utility provider, AWS, when we embrace cloud, we actually embrace the same model that you are at, meaning on a pay as you go basis. So when we say on a utility, if you need cloud, you just turn it on. If you don't need it, you can turn it off. And you only pay on what you use. And that's the reason why I'm very passionate on this, because we have similar business models and operating models of cloud being a utility. So in today's webinar, because when we talk about utilities, uh, um, it actually expands to not just electricity, not just water, but likewise gas. And when you talk about gas, that's one of the things that we also cover in our utility discussion. But likewise, I am expanding the discussion to the value chain. meaning not just to your consumers, but likewise to your partners and vendors that works together with you in your business. And where cloud comes in supporting your business, whether you are a power plant, whether you are a power co-op that distributes and sells or resells utility such as electricity, water, and gas, or you may be in the transmission or distribution field of the value chain. In terms of where we see the industry going, not just globally but also locally, this is across all industries. In the last 2 years or in the last 3 years, data, and probably you've heard a lot of digital transformation, is transforming the value chain. And when you say the value chain, it impacts two areas. One, customer experience, and second, operational efficiency. In most cases, companies are going for digital transformation for the latter part on operational efficiency. And I like the video that Brad shared a while back, where the customer, Globe's customer, was actually looking at both. How can I improve the customer experience at the same time improve my operational efficiency? Now, this transformation is brought about by two or three elements. One of which is what we call data explosion. And when you talk about data explosion, specific for power and water utilities, is the expansion of data across all fields and across all segments. In fact, even before there was digital transformation, when I was working with Meralco, Shell, and other utility companies, there's a huge ocean of data that's actually coming from our power plants, coming from our sensors, coming from our devices that measures key elements such as pressure, temperature, flow, and all those to make sure that our plants are efficient and not. There are also key use cases when we talk about data that actually helps companies, such as predictive maintenance, overall equipment efficiencies, yield, throughput, and all those. MTBR, MTBRF, and all those are key use cases where data is actually used. In the last 10 years, we've actually seen companies digitize or digitalize their systems, their applications, their data. Hence, the transformation of companies across all industries affecting the value chain is I would call it the imminent activity. And this was actually compounded when the pandemic happened last year, where we've actually seen not just remote work or work from home use case, but likewise streaming data from application, making sure that I keep the turn lights on, I keep the lights on for not just on backup and recovery, but across applications. This now impacted the value chain in power and water utilities from a traditional centralized to a decentralized and distributed. Now, if I look at the value chain from generation, transmission, distribution, meter and sale, and after the meter, which is our consumer or our customer, we've actually seen also the transformation of our customers when they consume both electricity and water, such as we've actually seen not only in other countries but also here when they talk about industrial buildings, smart homes, smart city, and all those. Uh, but in effect, it's still the same value chain. It's just that it is affected by this data explosion and digital transformation. Another source of another element that is affecting the value chain is having renewable and distributed sourcing and storage, meaning alternative sources of energy. Unlike before that we only have one or two, coal or oil based or oil powered, we now have alternative or renewable energy such as wind power, wind turbine, geothermal, and all those. Likewise, because of the lowering prices of solar panels, aside from companies, we actually see even home or residential users installing their solar panels in their homes. And in effect, if you look at the entire industry, if I have a solar panel, either as an individual or as a corporate user, I could actually contribute and sell to the grid. And this is where it adds on to the data explosion that we're actually seeing. Hence, in order for us to understand where data is and where data flows, it's important to share the building blocks of the value chain. And this is just a representation of the core blocks that we normally see in a generating or generation utility, may it be power, electricity, water, or gas, wherein the key focus is on the operations of the business, where more than just the back end support of IT, we actually see applications and data and systems that runs in plants for plant operation and plant maintenance. You may be using a Schneider, a Honeywell for your power plant assets, or you may be using OSI Soft for your SCADA or SetPoint for your SCADA, or even develop your own work management system, fleet or portfolio management, or even having your own in-house built application to integrate to the grid. Integrate to the grid meaning connecting to our grid line. Likewise, if you look at the other end of the spectrum of the value chain, it's more related to the customer, but more than just rating it to the customer, you now look at and you now implore systems or applications or even reports that would look at demand forecast, emergency response, energy efficiency services. Even there are some power and utilities that actually are promoting loyalty management or for customer retention, especially if once the entire value chain is deregulated. uh, Billing and payments have actually accelerated its digital use in the last 12 months, particularly on online payment. Hence, a lot of utility companies, both electricity and water, have expanded their backend applications or corporate applications to payment gateways, payment facilities, so that it could still entertain customers on key services that they could actually offer. Likewise, during the pandemic, we've actually seen the growth of contact centers because I cannot meet with my customer. I need to make sure that I'm connected with the customer through my contact center. For those that are working in the field, especially those that are looking at our electric poles, the transformers, and all those, having a good work management system is actually key. Imagine having your work management system having a downtime half the time, how it impacts your scheduling to your customers in servicing their utility requirements. That actually is not a good customer satisfaction situation. Hence, when we look at power and utilities, I don't just look at power utilities for the sake of backup and recovery. I actually look at what business outcome can we help you using cloud to improve your operations and to have you offer a better customer service. And all this is actually can be summed up to common functional, what I call these systems and data. Everything is data driven. Everything has data in it. You decide based on what you see on the data. You also expand your analysis if there's additional data. And data is not just limited to what you have internally. Similarly, if I go back to the video that was earlier shared by Brad with the customer, they've actually our customers actually go to social media and actually put in tweets and all those about us. Capturing those as well is actually key. Likewise, external data coming from weather sensors, either from Pag-asa before NOAA was widely used by utility companies. There are also utility companies that have installed their own weather sensors that can collect data, because that data can help me improve my forecast, whether it may be demand, maybe it may be supply, or even within the operation. And that's where, if you look at these common functional systems and data block, these are also, these can be our accelerators, which can improve our performance, or they can be what I call blockers. Blockers in the sense that if all these systems are either slow or not functioning well, or having too many downtimes, how much impact does it have with your processes, with your procedures, with your policies, and with your systems? And this is what we are hoping to help you with, not just on one aspect of a use case, but likewise, how do we improve your operations through these systems and applications that where data runs for that data flows. Hence, we can actually now use more than just functional and data. We can now use insights, even prediction, and even give you a better visualization of the data that you have. And if I even go further and look at the data flow and how digital is transforming power and water utilities from plant assets, from different equipment components that you have. It may be the US branded or UK branded, but it could be any brand of plant asset that uses, for example, most protocols like MTQP, AQTP, or a Modbus, or because there's several protocols that plant assets use. And that's something that you don't need to worry about, because that's where later on when you see my presentation is where we could actually connect your data, your sensors, your meters, your accelerometers, gateways. And if you, most likely you've heard the word IoT or Internet of Things, and more than that, industrial IoT, where we could actually pull data not from just these equipments, but likewise from these sensors. And this data is actually transmitted either wireless or cable. I remember during my time in Meralco, and I think we still have, Meralco still has it, they also use radio network as a third backup. And I believe a lot of companies are still using radio as a transmission of data for their corporations. And typically, this actually flows to a system that gathers all this data, which is actually either could be a SCADA, a PLC, a DCS, or a distributed control systems. And all this data has to be stored either on an on-premise, a hybrid, or even on a cloud. And a lot of in the last 5 years, we've actually seen a lot of companies struggle in keeping up with data explosion. Your core business is on providing electric and water utility services. And where we come in is to support you not just on your storage, but likewise on the different data use cases that you could actually do. So cloud now becomes as an enabler towards agility and resilience. If you look at the bottom blocks, these are the different data types or data forms that you actually use. I may be using SAP as an ERP, or I could have an in-house developed accounting system, payment system, or billing system. I actually pull data from the virus historian, from my plant assets, even from my PLCs, and also look at procurement and supply chain, especially with within our industry that we have to work with ERC, NEA, and DOE. retail prices on energy is actually uh, uh, um, uh, managed and seen by our regulators, and these are key data that actually we can put in our corporate data. Likewise, operational and plant data, I would say, is 2 or 3 times bigger than that of that corporate data, where more than just having a SCADA, PLC, and HSEs, which is your health, safety, and environment, a lot of power and utility companies, water utility companies, are implementing CCTVs or industrial CCTVs that could capture videos not just on its operation, but likewise on the safety of its personnel. Likewise, it is expanded to audio in plant data, specifically if you're monitoring not just vibration, but likewise audible elements. For example, if your pumps are exceeding audible sound, it can demonstrate future or near term defects or defaults of your system or your equipments. Likewise, there are other sources of data that you need to consider. And these are external data that's coming from either weather, government, if you're using and looking at other sources such as Bloomberg and all those to help you define your energy or your water chain, value chain. That's where actually we need to put in the most important piece at the moment that companies are also capturing are customer sentiments, and these are still part of your external data, where you can hear customer sentiments through tweets, Facebook messages, and also that are publicly available. Especially if they put in their messages in your, I know most of us have your own Facebook pages. Imagine the volume of pages that you need to analyze and see how you can respond. And a lot of companies have also used cloud and digital to actually address that. And you actually most likely have heard about chatbots that could also address not just voice activated responses from the customer, but also chats from different social media channels. All this is actually all this data coming from these different systems and equipments actually flows through two particular buckets. One is for your own use, meaning, why do I need all this data? I need all this data to make sure that my plant is running. Hence, a good use case is O&M, operations and maintenance. Another important use case that we see is OEE, or overall equipment efficiency, uh, to make sure that my plant is running. All this data, when it's being used, either runs on a legacy software. I actually have seen legacy software as old as Windows 2003 application running, but the licenses have actually expired. So the challenge of most customers is, how do I upgrade, or how do now I move? And a lot of companies have also explored looking at SaaS, or software as a service. All this is driven by consumption of software and technologies to support your use case, not the other way around. So it's what drives all this consumption of data is not because of the technology, but because of the use cases that you actually have. And let me drill down further. So if I look at the various use cases, and this is a limited list, I could actually list down further the different use cases that you could see. So it could be a use case on weather forecasting, power forecasting, price forecasting, safety equipment check, forecast. But more than the use case, what is the impact to your business? So typically, the power plant manager or the general manager would like to have visibility across all the business for two reasons. One, I need to make fast decision, and I need to make sure that I get an ROI on any decision that I make. Likewise, it could actually help me prevent downtime. And that's the purpose of having the dashboard, the business intelligence as a KPI to make sure that the general manager can do its function and deliver the outcome that he needs to deliver. Likewise, for an operation and maintenance function, which could either be a chief maintenance officer, an O&M manager, a plant manager, even a data lab or a chem lab data scientist, or even that of the value chain manager, could actually look at different use cases centered towards KPIs or outcomes such as unplanned costs because of reactive maintenance or recurring downtimes. Recurring downtimes in the past has been a big headache for power and utility companies. Hence, the look at coming up with maintenance strategies. Cost of labor, plant productivity, availability, and reliability. These are KPIs and outcomes that matters most to you. And all this you can do if you have sufficient data at that right point in time to help you make that decision, and so forth and so on. So if I go and drill down further on a specific use case like O&M, O&M or operations and maintenance is actually is one of the key functions and capabilities needed in a power and water utility plant. And typically, when we look at O&M, we look at two areas of cost: capex and opex. And all this affects actually our how we manage and effectively run our plant. As much as we can, we wanted to implore planned maintenance or scheduled maintenance. But like you, in most cases, the best case scenario of a planned maintenance only happens 50 or 60% of the time. Mainly because a lot of maintenance elements that we use and forecast are limited to only what data that you have at hand. And one factor that affects that is that I have too many data from two different systems. I have silos of data. It could help me if I can get all this data. Hence, where unplanned maintenance comes in, where you take extraordinary maintenance due to unexpected mechanical failures. Some can be wear and tear. Some can be attributed by weather and climate and all those. And some can just be an HSE situation. Um, so when we look at the maintenance strategy, these are the typical strategies that we see. The most common is reactive, meaning a wait and see. Ay, gumagana pa naman yan. So let's not touch it and let's work on it once it fails. It's now transforming to a more preventive, wherein let's follow what the vendor provider is telling us. For example, in most of in most of our equipments, there is always that optimum utilization of an equipment, which is at 60%. And at 60%, it actually can be as efficient as 80%. However, there are times that we need to maximize the utilization from 60% to 80% or even to 100%. Meaning instead of it having a downtime for a rest, we are actually continuously using the equipments, hence the breakdown and the unplanned maintenance. Where most companies are now looking at is on predictive. In how do I now anticipate all this so that I could reduce my reactive maintenance, I could lower my unplanned cost, which is either capex and opex. Capex is actually a bigger problem because most of our equipments are imported. And because of the lockdown, importing spare parts or even equipments that are not available here takes time. Some it would take months. Some would even take more than 6 months. So the impact on this on your operation is actually very high. And what you wanted to do in a predictive maintenance strategy is being able to predict availability and reliability, so that your supply can actually meet your demand, the demand of your consumer or your customer. And just sharing with you what most analysts are saying, that the cost of proactive maintenance is 5 to 6 times lower than the cost of reactive maintenance. And majority of this is, if you look at the profile of the downtime, most of this can be brought from your outage history. And this is where you can now look at your historian data. If there are behaviors or patterns that you see that would impact the performance of an equipment or an asset. So why customers go to AWS, and why do customers use AWS in power and water utilities? And there are four reasons. One is on making sure that, similar to you as a utility, my IT systems, my software is running efficiently and at much lower cost. On an on-premise environment where you have to buy capacity, even if you don't need it yet, you're spending too much. Where cloud comes in is, I will only spend based on what I need now, but at the same time provides me the scalability and the resilience that if in case my need goes up, it could scale automatically so that it would not hamper or affect my performance. Second is on secure, compliant, and reliable. Compliance is actually key to us. Security in AWS and Amazon is what we call day zero. It's important it's job zero, I mean, meaning that's the most important element of our job. Likewise, reduce time to business insights. So imagine reacting to several downtimes that are 1 week past. I've seen situations wherein the O&M manager is reviewing old downtime reports, but there's actually a downtime already happening. So that actually impacts his decision. And this is where we hope to help you using cloud to reduce time so that you could actually develop and create better business insights for decision making. Likewise, agility, building innovative applications fast. And this was, as I mentioned a while back, this was actually key in the last 12 months. Uh, Work from home is one, remote monitoring is the other, working with payment gateways so that I could do online payments and all those. These are elements that we see in the last 12 months that accelerated digital transformation or adoption to digital and cloud. And all this, you could actually separate into four buckets. I could look at customer engagement so that I can improve my customer experience. I could focus on OT so that I could improve data insights collected from my plant. Likewise, I can concentrate on my workforce and my asset, my field work. And all these are all supported where it has to start in transforming my IT, because there's no company today that doesn't have a software or an application that runs. Even if you're using Excel, it's still a software that runs on a server. So imagine if I have tons and tons of, if I have several workbooks in the next, because I did this before in my past life, where I actually maintain a lot of workbooks and Excel macros, and that limited me to making my decision because there's so much data, even in two or three Excel sheets that I need to compare. So transformation has, if data is controlled by technology, whether it may be IT or OT, and the transformation of that starts with that. And this is where now you come in improving your data insights. And this is the reason why customers are using AWS in several use cases in power and water utilities. So let me start with how and where customers are using AWS. I call this the fundamental solution use cases, or what we call entry levels, or where do they start. So typically, across all industries, it all started with data backup and archiving, not just for the purpose of technology, but also for the purpose of policy. So power and water utilities are required by our regulators to have, I believe, 5 years or 10 years of backup and archive. Some even looking at an active archive for 5 years, so that if a customer has a complaint, I could actually pull from an active archive the data about the consumer. Second is I'll share with you a common use case that most power and water and utilities are employing. Infrastructure, IST stands for Infrastructure as a Code for Disaster Recovery and Ransomware. And in the last 2.5 years, we've actually seen power and utility companies, because they have been burned by the big data warehouses. They're now implementing data lakes for various use cases such as predictive maintenance, O&M, HSE, workforce management, workforce analytics, and so forth. And I'll differentiate the data lake and the data warehouse later on. So let me start with the first fundamental service that you could actually, most likely you already have, which is your data backup and recovery. So in a typical fashion of us helping customers with Globe on data backup and recovery, we actually look at your particular need of having your data backed up at any time in a highly scalable, available, durable, and cost-effective cloud storage. So rather than buying several backup storages, magnetic tapes, and all those, and maintaining that, which is not your core business operation, companies have started in the last 10 years of using cloud as a backup. Actually, that's where Amazon Web Services started in 2006 on backup and recovery. And the product that we actually have, the service that we actually have, is what we call S3, which is a scalable storage system, hence as S3. So and S3 for us, or Amazon AWS S3, is a service that actually Globe helps their clients do. And this could be a starting point of how AWS and Globe can actually help you. There could be several backup scenarios that you could look at in PNU. If you go back to the functional blocks, it could be a backup and storage of just one or two applications, or it could be the backup of your backup. It could also be the backup of your SCADAs, your PLCs. A lot of your SCADAs and PLCs are also using software that actually runs on either a Windows environment, a Linux environment that also requires a backup. Your historian also needs a backup. And that's the reason why a lot of companies in the last 10 years have started their cloud journey with backup and recovery. So what we do is we can actually help you, Globe and us and AWS, can look at your current environment of your backup strategy or backup and recovery strategy, whether you're using magnetic tapes, whether you're using a third-party software that does your backup for you. And a great thing that we are partnering with Globe is that Globe actually helps you connect to the internet, and we have a product or a service called AWS Direct Connect that allows you to connect to a secure VPN over the internet so that your backup can actually be stored on S3. It could be a active backup. It could be our backup. And the backup is not just limited to data. Backup is data, backup and recovery is available whether it's an unstructured data or a structured data. Even CCTV footages, even data coming from your sensors, if you need to have it backed up, you can. And all this is stored in one service called Amazon S3. And we, together with Globe, can help you set up your backup, data backup, and recovery strategy with a simple architecture. So I mentioned a while back, if you're using other third-party backup services, such as The most famous in the Philippines is actually either Veritas or NetApp. Druva is upcoming, but regardless of what this third-party backup services is, they actually have a built-in cloud connectors already, because all these backup third-party backup services are also promoting cloud because it actually helps them lower its cost for its customers. So we can actually look at that if you're using a third-party backup server and how it actually flows in, again, using Direct Connect, VPN, and S3 in storing this. And we have a particular service called AWS Storage Gateway that customers can use so that you can retire your physical tape libraries and replace them with durable and secure cloud-enabled storage capabilities. This is one big help that in most companies have used AWS, because more than just moving and retiring from physical tape libraries, I can now have access, fast access to my 5-year-old data, 10-year-old data to look at patterns and behaviors. And as I share with you, that's a service that we actually offer, Amazon S3. And there are several variances of S3 that you could look at. It could be a simple data backup. It could be a Glacier service. And in our, probably if you're interested, Globe and AWS can actually share with you, and we can hear from you what your backup and recovery strategy is. So we could recommend to you what is the appropriate S3 service that you would need. And the benefits of that is on 5 areas. Durability. Imagine having 99.9% durable S3 data stored. You could also leverage on if you have existing investments on third-party backup applications. Cost-effective storage because you only pay on the service on the usage that you have. So similar to you as a utility, you now eliminate both capex and operational costs in tape backups. And likewise, and I guess the most important benefit is your backup and storage is not just a backup and storage. S3 serves as your first landing of a data lake, because Amazon S3 is not just a storage service, it's also your first step to a data lake. And I will share with you that later. The second fundamental solution that we normally see is IAC, or infrastructure as code strategy. And this is common to banks and power and utilities, water utility companies, that they wanted to look at and address incidents that could impact their infrastructure, whether it's a natural disaster, power failure, communication breakdown, and even malicious attacks like ransomware that requires customers to recover as fast as I can, not just having a hot disaster recovery for continued operations, but likewise uh, um, uh, um, achieving near zero RTO and RPO, so that I could actually implore and deploy my applications on a infrastructure as a code service, regardless of whatever applications you are backing up or recovering from AWS cloud. And we also have a recommended architecture to actually do that. This is a fundamental architecture, but nevertheless, it's also good to see. It's important for us to see what you actually have, so that we could also recommend the appropriate infrastructure that is needed for your organization. So similarly, it uses S3. So the first use case uses S3. The second use case still uses S3 with a use case that could actually help you address ransomware and other disaster recovery situations. So the benefits could be it's a repeatable service. and you could model it to your own IT. And this is the reason why I shared a while back. We actually look at and help look at your current strategy and recommend to you how we could actually help improve that, either on a pure automation or having an operational excellence KPI or a reliability KPI. All this impacts your operation, hence the importance of this use case. The third fundamental solution, and I say fundamental because these are the entry levels where their cloud journey starts. It starts with S3 because of backup and recovery, because it's a disaster recovery. At the same time, as I've been sharing with you a while back, S3 also serves as your data lake. So let me start on this particular use case for a data lake where O&M is actually important. And these are the 6 classifications of typical outages when you look at power outages. And as based on the third-party analyst survey, 31% of these failures of these outages are impacted by all these factors. It could be equipment, it could be an unknown reason, it could be the vegetation meaning the farm of transformers and distribution that I have, and it's also the second biggest operating expense. So imagine how you could help save your O&M cost on the cloud, using the cloud. And when we look at preventive maintenance as a use case for a data lake, we actually look at 3 elements, 3 buckets. Safety and compliance is one, equipment maintenance and what is the other, and more important is how it impacts my financial operations, because all this will impact cost. And all this could actually help me reduce costs. Whether it could be a better work planning so that I could plan my outages and repairs in advance, or it could be a public safety situation to help reduce fire. One of the things that most companies are already considering when there's a downtime is loss opportunity, whether it may be a revenue opportunity or it could be a customer churn. The second container element is equipment maintenance, and I've mentioned this a while back. But more than that is fault prevention, where I could look at a direct inspection of my broken parts and see what I actually have in my supply chain. And of course, supply chain optimization and profitability maximization. When you say supply chain optimization, you're not just looking at optimizing your own, because most of our equipments are actually sourced outside, spare parts and equipments. And you have to project your supply chain even on those factors that's outside of your control. When can they be delivered? So that you could actually address this situation. What it does is one good thing, and this I've seen and worked on in several situations. It prolongs the life and peak performance of existing assets. Similar to our bodies, if we do our own, if for example you're under maintenance, if you don't drink your maintenance, it will reduce your life expectancy. So what it does, it actually prolongs the life and peak performance of your assets. More than that, it helps you, as I mentioned a while back, protect on potential lost revenue or minimize lost revenue, and enhance safety and risk management for both your employees and your assets. Where AWS comes in is, one, we can ingest the data that you have across the functional blocks, whether it may be coming from your historian, your PLC, an Excel spreadsheet, your SAP, your ERP. That's not your worry. Let us help you uh, ingest all this data into S3 as your data lake. And let us extend also our help to you, because there's a particular service, what we call AWS IoT, that allows us to connect to the device itself, whether it may be a SCADA or a PLC or any equipment. In most cases, if you're using open standard, universally available equipments, they actually have and use open and scalable protocols. Modbus, LONNet, RS-232, 318, MQTP, AQTP. These are the different protocols. And AWS IoT actually supports almost all protocols. We can also go down to the firmware itself, like FreeRTOS, or we could actually connect to the gateway that actually collects all this data if you're using a DCS. So simple steps allow us to help you ingest your customer and operational data. Ingest meaning whether it will be used as a backup and storage or as a recovery. Use that as well as a data lake and use that to actually store the data, use the data to analyze it so that you could create simple patterns and behaviors. When will my equipment fail based on the data elements that I'm capturing? And how do I now consume this data? When I say consume, is how do I help management visualize all this data for better insights? Yeah. So allow me to share a simple, not really a simple architecture, a simplified architecture of how we help clients. So there are 6 steps, similar to what you've seen a while back. One is ingesting data sources. So the data sources can actually be from your ERP. If you're using GIS data, we could also ingest from that. We could also capture image data, whether you're using drones or whether you're using CCTV cameras. Uh, we can also ingest from your historian, from your meter, your SCADA, and IoT data. And more importantly, we could also ingest customer interaction data coming from the web, mobile, social, SMS, from your contact center or telephony, even to your going to your CRM. So all this, and I haven't included also weather data, which is actually part of the other data outside of your internal data. So identifying the data sources is actually key. Ingesting them is where AWS starts helping you and Globe. And this is where we look at what variant of S3 would you need so that we can capture and ingest that. Some can be batch ingested, meaning I don't have to ingest it. I need I can only I want to ingest it only once a week or once a month and collectively understand that situation. Or if I'm using an ERP and you're doing monthly reconciliation, you could also do twice a month of ingestion. There are also data that you need to ingest either by stream or by event. So this could be near real time or it could be event driven coming from your SCADA, historian, or PLC. So a good example of that is if I'm monitoring, for example, several set points of my power plant that would determine my performance of a transformer, I will actually stream that if it goes beyond 5% of the set point or 10% of the set point. Okay, and we have services that allows us to stream this data coming from my plant equipments, and likewise you could couple that with videos if you're capturing videos in the plant to look at certain events. So after ingesting, we actually scale and batch them so that we could help you analyze and put it in a catalog. That includes ingesting raw data, archiving that data, doing an ETL extraction tool that we also have. We also help you clean your data. Cleaning data meaning if there are any missing data, we could look at simple analytics that look at and fill it and create a data catalog. Data catalog based on the data that you actually have. And this now allows you to curate your data into a simple data lake. All these actually are services that are already available in AWS. The fourth step is for the other data that you will ingest based on streams and events, whether it may be real time or near real time, or it could be applications that are using specific services. And once that's done, you can now start consuming it. Whether you have a data warehouse, because a data lake makes sure that it captures all data, regardless whether it's structured or unstructured, from all silos. In your data warehouse now, if you have a data warehouse, now becomes an effective data warehouse because it's coming from a data lake. And simple definition of a lake, you actually have a big lake of data that regardless of you're capturing all raw data, which is actually a function of your storage and backup, which is also a function of your data recovery. So your use is a three-in-one. S3 becomes a three-in-one. It becomes your backup and recovery. It becomes your data backup, your recovery. At the same time, it serves as your data lake. And from there on, both Globe and AWS can help you consume this data into reports so that your managers, you yourselves can actually use it, or you could extend this to your customer engagement, either through chatbots, through social pages that you'd like to respond to your customers. And this architecture is a common architecture already that we have seen in not only in power and water utilities, but also in manufacturing, industrial manufacturing plants, because it's a common ask of us. Okay. So what you've seen in the last few slides is on our what we call fundamental. Kumbaga 80% of the time or 90% of the time, this is where most of our customers started their journey. The next level solutions is on one, if you're using SAP, a lot of companies are actually migrating their SAP from an on-premise environment to a cloud environment. And SAP itself is promoting the use of cloud because of the data explosion that's happening. At the same time, it becomes more effective on working with other systems outside of SAP. The other solutions that we've seen, and this is local, that we've seen is meter data analytics. Meter data analytics allows us to look at insights of certain patterns and behaviors of your consumers in a particular area on their usage so that it could help me with my demand and supply. So it's related to a demand and supply forecast or a demand forecast using meter data to actually predict and plan for demand based on what supply I'll be getting in the next 3 months from my power plant sources or my alternative sources. The third is where, and this is common to most um, um, uh, big and medium-sized enterprise power and utilities. I've seen this in, for example, in water utilities. I've seen this implemented already in the two big concessionaires, Manila Water and Manila Water. It's also being used in power utilities, in Aboitiz, in EDC, and all those. And what they call it AIML or machine learning. And there are several use cases other than predictive maintenance that you can actually use to do machine learning. And if you are an electrical engineer, one of the things that you'd love to do is using Duval to analyze your transformers. So even if you're an engineer, you most likely know this. Even the Duval triangle is running on the cloud to help you analyze the performance of your transformers based on the dissolved gas analysis that is already present or even that's been happening in the last 3 months. Kasi it builds up, di ba? If you're familiar with transformer operations, it builds up. And when gas builds up, it actually impacts the performance of your transformer. So we can look back at transformer load analytics, circuit breaker analytics, and so forth and so on. Even whether you're wind power, solar panel, solar power, even if you're a gas pipeline, water management or generation, a lot of companies are using artificial intelligence or machine learning to analyze further for the simplest reason of able to predict and forecast. Yan. So, not to scare you, but we actually have a full solution map of, remember a while back, understanding your core blocks of applications that you actually have in a generation and utility company, as a water utility company. We've actually mapped and looked at what are the potential use cases that you normally see. And this is where we actually look at our experience on the companies that we have worked with and see where we could actually help. Whether it could be customer facing, operational efficiency, or even if it's a new use case, yun, we love challenges and we love experiments. And we could actually help you. So, and I will end with this slide because if you're interested on a pilot or an MVP together with Globe, just reach out to us and we'll help you with your pilot or your MVP. With that, I guess I'm on time, Brad. And I'm now open for Q&A.
All right. Thank you, Marnie, for that very, very insightful discussion. No? A lot of data were really presented, but what I'd like to say is that you pointed out very well that it's very important to look at the use cases and the total business impact, no, when we're making these discussions or these decisions on digital and cloud transformation. And most likely, I'm thinking if there is that business need, and if there is that use cases they can think of, there is most likely a cloud solution that corresponds to that need, no. And it's more than data and backup. That is the most basic. Everyone thinks of cloud as data storage and backup. But right now you were mentioning that we're having this so-called data explosion. Everyone is gathering more and more data, more than what they know what to do with, right? So the cloud can really help businesses manage that data and turn them into very insightful decision making, data driven decision making that can improve their value chain. So for everyone in the audience today, think of all the data that you're gathering that you're not using. How can you use the cloud to turn it into insights and make actionable data driven decisions? Some of the examples that Marnie mentioned was number one, developing custom systems for loyalty, customer relationship management, and servicing. And also using the capability of the cloud for data analytics so that you can manage that data, take a closer look at them, and actually get more accurate forecasts of supply and demand, accurately forecast the weather for preventive maintenance and asset optimization also. That is one of the best use cases, I think, that Marnie mentioned, no? But before that, Marnie, before we go to the Q&A, no, I just like to again remind everyone that we have a survey. I'll post it again on the chat box. So if everyone can answer that survey, they'll get a chance to win 1,000 pesos G cash after the end of our session today. And before we proceed to the Q&A, and as an added treat, to all of the attendees today, I would actually like to invite a representative from the Ayala Enterprise Circle to offer the companies in attendance here free membership for their companies to enjoy discounts and priority service from Ayala-owned companies. So may I please invite on screen Miss Vanessa Estrada.
Hi, thanks, Bradley. Yes, good morning to all the attendees and to all the panelists. Again, my name is Vanessa Estrada, and I hope everyone is well and safe. So this morning, I am here to talk about your complimentary membership at the Ayala Enterprise Circle. So next slide, please. So again, being a Globe My Business customer, there's definitely a lot of perks. From today, we learned about cloud solutions and business continuity. And this morning, we know that Globe being part of the Ayala Group, you too can also be part of a bigger, wider, and collective group of Ayala SMEs. So this program or initiative is called the Ayala Enterprise Circle. AEC was actually conceptualized during the height of the pandemic, with the Ayala Group recognizing SMEs as its importance in our economy. Thus, as we recover together, Ayala Enterprise Circle was launched last November as a membership platform via the ayalaenterprisecircle.com. So its value proposition is really to aim upskilling, connecting, and enabling SME owners and their employees. And of course, as a valued Glow My Business customer, your membership is free. And how to become a member? Next slide, please. So if you are a Glow My Business customer already, you are eligible to become a member. So you can see in the next slide. If you scan the QR code on the screen, you will be redirected to the registration page, or you can type in www.ayalaenterprisecircle.com. If you have a good standing with Globe My Business, you will be asked also to upload 2 documents. So your registration, business registration, if you're a sole proprietor, your DTI, or if you're a partnership or a corporation, your SEC. And part of your sign-up process, you will also need to upload your Globe statement of account, stating your registered business name and your Globe My Business mobile number or account number. So we are committing a same-day approval of your membership. Again, this membership is for free for all Globe My Business customers. Next slide. So once you are a member, you can now have access to 50 plus exclusive discounts from our Ayala Group partners. So we can see that these are the immediate needs of our SMEs today, from health and insurance, business transformation, and financing. Our business partners from the Ayala Group has been continuously refining the offers that we have and continuously increasing the number that you can avail of. So in the next slides, I will just be highlighting some of the member benefits that you can avail of as a member. So under healthcare, we have our partners from Generica. So this is a good benefit because it is not only for SME owners, but this can be extended to your employees. So our Generica partners just need to get a copy of your company ID so that this 10% discount can be availed by all of your employees in their participating Generica drugstores. Again, this promo is until end of the year. If you purchase via their app, you can actually have your medicines delivered to your home. So this is really how our Ayala Group partners are continuously improving the offers and making it more convenient and effortless for our members. Next slide. Again, under healthcare, we have from Healthway. So on the check card, you know that health is a gift. And if we want to provide health benefits to our employees, this only check card for as low as 1,500, you are already giving your employees an unlimited worth of consultations and checkups in over 100 Healthway branches in NCR, Cavite, and Laguna. So on top of that, only check or only consultation is 1,500 worth of medicines, laboratory tests, vaccines, and other services in the branches. So again, this is an AEC exclusive. When you avail via the membership platform, you only need to apply for 10 only check cards versus when you walk in, you need a minimum of 50 only check cards. So for SMEs who only have 10 employees, this is something that is very easy to activate or inquire from the AEC membership. Next slide. Okay, so financing. So we all know that this is an immediate need of our SMEs. That is why our BPI Business Banking Group has extended the off-the-shelf loans exclusive for AEC members, fee waivers of 50%, at the same time priority lane for our members. So applying for a business loan has never been this easy and fast. Next slide. So another offer for financing is from our BPI Credit Cards Group, wherein they have exclusively created a credit card for SME owners that you can use for business-related expenses. You can also charge your Globe bills here, so you don't miss paying for your monthly dues. So this one with your first 100,000 spent, you get an equivalent of 100,000 bonus points. So this you can claim for other rewards in their platform. And next slide. So last but not the least, under our business transformation offers, we have Globe. Of course, Globe My Business is providing our AEC members with that flexibility to choose what kind of internet connection they will get. So whether it's an only internet or a prepaid internet, both of which can boost your productivity and power your business continuity plan. Okay, next slide. Okay, so aside from the offers, we also have AEC member exclusive events and online content. So you can see, you can replay the past webinars that AEC has been running since May of last year, where we invited different key persons from AC Health, BPI, of course, we have Globe, GCash, and Zalora. We also invited SME ambassadors who have shared their best practices and how they pivoted in the new normal. So as AEC members, of course, you will receive exclusive invitations to future events of AEC. Next slide, please. Okay, so I can talk about a lot of benefits and privileges of being an AEC member, but I believe that coming from an AEC member, saying that being part of Ayala Enterprise Circle has helped me and my business a lot in securing funds during this pandemic is something that we can all relate from. It's a company called Morphling IT Solutions, which is actually a Globe My Business customer. That's why he applied as a member. When he got approved, Mr. Erickson Mapote claimed the off-the-shelf loan and immediately got his business loan from BPI. So it's really that seamless. And it's really getting a view of all the offers that the Ayala group of partners are offering to us. So we hope that AEC will be able to help more Morphling IT Solutions and get more positive feedback from more Mr. Mapotes. Okay, next slide. And this is my party slide. So we look forward to having you as an Ayala Enterprise Circle member. Applying for the membership will only take you less than 5 minutes. And we look forward to seeing you in AEC. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Nessa, for inviting all of our attendees to become part of the AEC. I think what AEC is offering right now is very relevant nowadays when everyone needs just a little bit of help, you know. And as in every crisis, business leaders can take advantage of opportunities AEC is offering and also the solutions that Globe My Business and AWS is presenting today. And right now, we're exploring these kinds of advantages and opportunities in the cloud, as fleshed out in the topic earlier, so that we can future-proof our businesses right now and enjoy a lot of success moving forward. Now, may I please invite back on screen Mr. Marnie Tolosa to answer some of the questions from our audience. So, Marnie, again, good morning. Thank you very much for that insightful talk. How about let's start with a warm-up question. All right. So, for companies that want to go to the cloud, but they don't have a team with the cloud skills yet, how can we start the journey in adopting cloud computing? Is it a requirement to have trained personnel first? What are the options?
Yep. Thanks, Brad, for that question. Before addressing that, let me just add to what you mentioned a while back. There's no question that there is no data. Actually, everyone is already saying, I have too much data. The big question now is the $1 million question is, how do I make sense of data? So similar to what, so you will hear this from boardrooms, from owners and such. So going back to your question, in typical fashion, especially for the fundamental solutions such as the backup, recovery, and even a simple data lake, um, uh, it doesn't require that much of IT. If you have a limited, if you have a limited resource, and that is a given to us already, and that's the reason why we have automated tools already that can help you. Other than that, of course, in partnership with Globe, Globe and AWS can actually help you on these fundamental solutions. I mentioned a while back that Globe also offers AWS Direct Connect that connects to the VPN. That would be actually set up for you. So going to your storage, if you're looking at the fundamental use cases to S3 and using that as a data lake, what we just need from you is not really from IT, but from your team that will help define where these sources are. Key to data transformation is identifying where are these data kasi it's all siloed. And IT can help, but in most cases, our business team actually helps. And that's the reason why in one of my slide, I placed there the persona because these are the personas that owns the data. For example, for O&M, O&M data or operations and maintenance data is owned by the operations and maintenance manager. Either they use an Excel, they use a built-in application. So knowing where the source are and being able to identify what service we can pull from those sources allows IT now to streamline and seamlessly pull data. So in that aspect, actually, you don't need much of IT. Where you need more IT and bits where we can help, Globe and AWS can help, is on the next level of solutions. But nevertheless, we're actually here to help, understanding that you have a lean IT. It could be a managed service, it could be a one-time implementation, it could just be a simple pilot or an MVP.
All right, noted on that. And I think that that is an important point
Mhm.
to discuss. That the cloud can be complicated, but there will always be service providers to help you on that. So Globe is one of them. Globe partnering with AWS. No, we do have those solutions that not only provide the solution, but also the service that goes along with it. So we were talking about pulling data. One of the questions here is that how do I pull data from sensors, PLCs, and SCADA?
Yeah, and thanks, Brad, for that question. So I also shared a while back that if you're using universal available SCADAs and PLCs, they do have APIs or gateways. So those gateways, most likely you know it, either it's a Modbus, RS-232, RS-318. It could be several protocols. And AWS IoT, one of our service, actually supports almost all protocols. And I mentioned almost all kasi we still have customers that are still using uh, age long, I call it black boxes. In my early years in energy and oil and gas, there are certain black boxes, meaning black boxes meaning it's a system that there is no internal connection, external connection. And in one way that we've seen is we actually use the generic interfaces that the black box has. Or we could actually store text from that black box and put it into an Excel spreadsheet. So as they say, there are several ways to skin a cat, and there are protocols that we are actually supporting. What we need from them, from our customers, is a list of what sensors or PLCs or SCADAs that they're using.
Now, Marnie, there's a question here. How can we integrate SCADA that's employing isolated network with no internet connection? Is that
Yeah.
possible?
Yes, it's actually possible. There are two ways to do that. One is you could actually store SCADA information on a database or on an Excel spreadsheet, for example, or in a text. And in typical fashion, because I work for an exploration company, Shell Oil Exploration. So definitely the connection there is either through satellite, or I actually have what we call AWS as what we call service called Snowball. Snowball are handy devices where you store terabytes of data, and we actually bring this AWS snow cone. It's an appliance that you could actually use, that our customers can actually use to store all data coming from SCADA, bring it to your corporate office so that it would actually ingest and upload those data coming from that snowball service. So, and that we realize in energy and utilities that in most cases there are places that doesn't have any connection, but don't worry, there's a solution to that. One is that, and the other one that we actually announced yesterday, Brad, together with Globe, is what we call AWS Outpost. So AWS Outpost is a service that Globe and AWS will be promoting in the near future that allows us to put in an appliance. Is our hybrid solution that allows us to pull in data from a plant, for example, and allow the outpost to actually connect to the cloud. And that's the service. So we're making it simpler and simpler to our customers, especially in the energy supply chain, manufacturing, power and utilities that are remotely connected. So there are two ways. The most common in the last 10 years is using an appliance called Snowball. There's a smaller version, Snow Cone, I think. So it's a small device that can store terabytes of data. Yeah.
All right, great answer. So for the one who asked the question, I hope you took down some notes so that we can seamlessly, integrate data, even from that kind of SCADA into the cloud. No? And moving on to the topic of data and having that kind of data, we have a question here. What database can we use as a co-op having big data like SCADA and daily transactions? So what database is available for them?
Yep. So, and thank you for that question. We can use what existing database you have. So, for example, if you're using a Microsoft SQL or an Oracle database, part of our service is actually either migrating the same databases into that. But in most cases, there are companies that are looking at reducing costs. For example, maintenance of these big databases are very expensive. So AWS itself we have our own database called Aurora. So we can move. So if you have an old database that you'd like to migrate the same, that's one, or migrate and move into another database. If you're starting from scratch, you could actually use Aurora. And these databases is not just limited to a relational database. So I mentioned a while back, there are structured and unstructured data. Most corporate data uses relational database. Most machine data use a different form of data, time-based, timestamp data. So we could cater on both kinds of data, even the unstructured data such as CCTV, Facebook tweets, Facebook social media tweets, and all those. These are unstructured data, even weather data. So as much as we can capture data, regardless whether structured or unstructured, we have the services that you would need.
All right, great, great. Marnie, there's another question here on preventive or predictive maintenance, rather. For predictive maintenance use case, can we start with small? Can we start small with key assets, or do we have to go big and all the assets?
I am. Thank you for that, and it's a very good question. Especially, so the person who have asked this most likely is someone who feels the pain sa predictive maintenance. So normally, in the past, the predictive maintenance always starts big, but in the last 3 years, when they have started exploring cloud, we have been recommending to pilot or do a POC or an MVP of a key asset or a few assets. So it could start off with assets that are non-mission critical. So this could be any assets that is outside of the SCADA or PLC. And then move on once you have do an MVP of that to a bigger. So our goal here is to have a quick project, a quick proof to management that it works, so that we could add more and more assets. And we can help them plan what assets would be what would be good to do a pilot or an MVP on.
All right, great.
And pala to
Some
add, I can add
Go
pala,
ahead.
Brad.
Yes.
You could also use as a criteria if it's a cost-driven category. For example, I have an asset that occur that has more than 50% downtime. So it impacts cost. So can we pilot this? Yes, of course. Kasi what we are hoping to help you is how to reduce the downtime so that your cost also gets reduced and your reliability of the asset increases. So you can choose by a category, by catalog. It could be less critical than a mission critical asset. So and we're open to discuss with you. Best always is to work from your environment, work from the customer's environment. What business outcome would you like us to help you derive from? Yeah.
All right. What if, Marnie, there's a co-op, electric co-op, or any business actually, who already is using on-premise servers. It is do they still need the cloud because they already have on-premise servers, or how do they manage migrating to the cloud when they're still using on-premise servers? Will there be any downtime when migrating to that kind of service?
So thank you for that question, Brad. Actually, we help them with their migration plan. And a lot of companies are actually starting migrating to the cloud or have already started their journey, mainly because of, especially in the last 12, 13 months, the pandemic. One big item, top of mind, is cost containment, not cost reduction, cost containment. And cost containment is how can I still operate pero maintain my cost. And the only way to do that is to think as a utility. I will only pay a service when I need it. On an on-premise environment, if your SAP, for example, or your application is growing and growing and growing, and as much as you want to expand your IT servers or on-premise, there's only a limit that management can approve. And this is where the cost containment factor comes in, where management asks you or demands from you to still operate at a minimal cost or a reduced cost to contain that factor. And this is where cloud and has came in to help with their journey. So whether it may be a big company or an SNS, SME, actually a lot of retail stores, supply chain companies, even rural banks and all those, everyone is looking at ways to contain costs, especially in the next 12 to 24 months because we don't know when this will end. So, and this is where resiliency thinking now comes in. How do I survive till the next wave or till it normalizes, but still operate at a high level? Cloud is where it answers it.
All right. That is actually some great feedback when it comes to the cloud. It's really one of the main considerations, I would say, would always be the cost consideration. Or whenever any company, any organization decides to invest in a new technology, there will always be that cost implication. But Marnie, can you elaborate on what you just said? How does moving to the cloud contain the cost? Isn't it logical that if there's an organization who gets or invests in new technology, wouldn't they have shelled out more cost to get that new technology?
Yeah, on an on-premise environment, one has to purchase all these equipments even before there is a need. So in most companies, when they look at an on-premise environment, they actually spend 60% more on what the application needs. So there's unutilized cost because you already spent so much on building that infrastructure, that on-premise infrastructure. Where cloud comes in is on the same configuration of an environment, whether it's compute or storage, you could actually purchase it at a fraction of a cost. And at the same time, it's not capex laden. It's OPEX. And that's where the beauty comes in. Kasi it's a pay as you go. So for example, if I'm a power utility company and I look at my peak supply and demand, and it's a given fact. March till June or May or June, demand doubles or triples. And when when demand triples, actually even the demand on our IT resources is either linear or exponential. So PNU companies have no choice but to add and add and add more servers. um, Cost is one. Second is agility. Because if I didn't budget it and I have to purchase it, you have to go through your procurement cycle. And that hampens your operation. Kasi I cannot operate that demand kasi I'm still waiting for the or the PO to be approved. So typically in that time frame, it takes them 3 or 4 months before the equipment comes. So the demand now goes down. So by the time that they have the equipment, it's already at the off-peak season. Sayang. Hence, the cloud comes in. You want more compute? Turn it on. Oh, you're reducing your compute? Turn it off. So you only pay. So one is OPEX based because it's a pay as you go, and you only pay it similar to a utility, just like a switch. You turn it on if you need it, you turn it off if you don't need it. And it doesn't impact your being agility and resilient.
All right, great answer. So it's not just cost. So cost is just one of it, but the agility. You can, if you need, for example, there's this summer season, mas malaki yung demand for power. So you can always just add more resources to the cloud servers, no, as needed. No need to go through additional servers, etc., etc. So yeah, so it's pay as you go, like you just said, and also on demand scalability and flexibility. So those are really the advantages of cloud. We have a few questions here talking about cost, asking for estimates na. Marnie, I'll just throw you one of them. How much is the estimated cost of subscription for cloud backup recovery? Our attendees' data that they gave to us is that their MS SQL, their SQL data backup file is around 10 gigabytes. How much would that cost?
Yeah, we actually have a simple calculator, Brad. So I would encourage our Globe team to reach out and share the calculator, so that we can help them. What would be, So one thing that you also need, one thing that we also share with the customer is, in the cloud, it's not a one-to-one. So if you're using a 4-core server on an on-premise, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need the same. Actually, it's even lower. So one of the things that we ask during the simple calculation is what application is it and what's the runtime. So we have a simple calculator, and our Globe team can actually work through with that customer to compute. It would give them an estimated cost of how much their backup would be. Given on a 10 gigabit, actually that would be, kasi most of the storage that we have been discussing with, even on SMEs, they'll be surprised, are already at terabytes of data. Kasi they're looking at not just 1 month, not just 1 quarter, but not just 1 year, but 3 years, 5 years of data. Yeah.
All right, great. So just to sum up all of the points that we've discussed, I think that will be our last question for this session. So again, cloud is more than just data and backup. Really, it's using that data to provide actionable insights and make data-driven decisions. Now, the cloud is very easily accessible to everyone here in attendance right now. All they need to do is contact their account manager or sign up through the link that I'll be posting in a while through the chat box, and someone will help scope the requirements, talk about the pricing, and also the strategy if they want to migrate from an on-premise server to a virtual server. And when it comes to cost, cloud is also a winner there because you only pay as you need it and you can scale up or down, very flexible, on demand. So again, Marnie, I'd like to thank you for your time today, for sharing all those insights and for sharing, of course, your experience as well in the power and utility industry. So I'll be moving on to our last part of this session, the raffle draw. But before, while I'm preparing the raffle draw, I am gonna launch a one question poll to see if you guys are interested in actually getting cloud for your company. So let me launch it now. All right. And as we can see from our attendees here, a lot of them, 80%, are actually seeing the benefits of the cloud for their company. And I'm going to flash now, next on the screen, a QR code and the link. I'll be posting it on the chat box. If anyone wants to learn more, we have 19% of us wants to learn more about cloud solutions. 80% might want to subscribe to AWS Cloud through Globe My Business. Please click on the link in the chat box. And now we move on to the raffle draw. So again, thank you very much to those who pre-registered and those who've answered the survey. It will really help us make better solutions, come up with better solutions for your cooperative or your company. So we move on to picking 3 random names who will win 1,000 pesos Gcash. All right, and here we have them. So congratulations to Nelson Ochavo, Chris Alvarez, Hadrian Villarosa. We will be contacting you via email to get your Gcash details. Now, before I end the session, let me just flash on the screen the QR code and the link. So everyone who wants to talk more about their cloud transformation and have a one-on-one consultation with an account manager, you may scan the QR code or type the link below to learn more about Amazon Web Services and Globe My Business Solutions. Marnie, may I invite you back on the screen? And before we formally close this webinar, can I request for some parting words, some words of advice for our attendees, today, Marnie?
Yep, thank you, Brad. First and foremost, maraming salamat for investing your time with us, with Globe and AWS. And we hope that you were able to pick up 2 or 3 points, not just for your own use, but more so in helping your organization. And secondly, we are here to help. So I believe Brad has posted and the team has posted. You have your account managers from Globe. Let us know how we can help you, specific to your journey. And third, if you're looking at migration, we actually have a program, and allow me to advertise our program, Brad. We have a program that actually helps SMEs, where we part of that program is providing cloud credits to our customers, I think for 2 or 3 months, so that you could test out cloud on your company's use. We call it SMB Migrate, and we actually have this program until end of June. So this has been very helpful to all of our SMEs, kasi as they go in their journey, one of the things that Globe and AWS has helped them is how can we enjoy piloting cloud without additional expense needed during that pilot. So yun, and I would end that with we hope to look to see them in the future again in our next classes.
All right. Thank you very much, Marnie. And thank you to everyone who attended. Again, if you want to have a one-on-one conversation or deep dive into your requirements for your specific needs, please click on the link in the chat box or scan the QR code that I am going to flash again right now. Okay. Oops, there you go. So again, for those who want to have a one-on-one conversation, please scan the QR code or go to the link flashed here. And we would love to talk to you more about how Glow My Business and AWS can actually help your electric and water cooperatives. Again, thank you to everyone for attending today's session. My name is Bradley Pineda, Finance Industry Manager, Marketing Manager for Globe My Business, and wishing you all a happy Tuesday, happy lunch. Thank you.